Welcome to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Another news roundup video here today, simply because there is so much going on right now around the club in terms of different reports, different type of topics. In today's video, we are going to be discussing once again Ernesto Valverde's future, which is certainly at the forefront of our minds. We're also going to be discussing the transfer latest, the stories continue, the rumours continue. We are going to be breaking those down right here and now. Let's get on with the news. Let's do this. But first and foremost, I simply have to start with those Valverde reports about his future, and I have to say there were a number of reports that came out this morning from several different Spanish sources, all surrounding Valverde's future, and they all seem quite concrete indeed. We'll start here with Mundo Deportivo, who basically came out and said Barcelona's board of directors will hold a meeting later on today, as in right now today, to discuss Valverde and Pep Segura's future at the club. Apparently the decisions will only be implemented after the Copa del Rey final, so even though the meeting is today, we won't hear anything necessarily officially until after that Copa del Rey final, which is just under 2 weeks away. That final also, they say, could be very, very key to Valverde's future, and we could then hear news after that game is completed. They then go on to say the majority of leaders within the club's board, and not the players we're talking about here, we're talking only about the Barcelona board and the entirety of that, not just Bartomeu, Segura. There's a number of people involved at the very hierarchy of Barcelona. They say actually a number of those leaders do not believe Valverde is the man to continue at Barcelona. They do not trust in Ernesto Valverde, and apparently Pep Segura, the Barcelona director of football, the general manager of all of that board, apparently he's also being questioned right now. His leadership, his direction of the club is being questioned, and his future is also on the line, which I have to say is very, very positive news. For me, Ernesto Valverde, as you all know, I believe we're better off with a fresh start, but looking at the board, Pep Segura is the massive, massive person who needs to leave, who's happy really to build an NBA team of players. He wants to bring in physical players, tall players, strong players, everything really Barcelona has never ever been, and for me, he needs to be out. He has nothing at all to do with this club. He doesn't understand the philosophy, he doesn't understand the direction, and for me, Segura has to be gone. That report there gives me a bit of confidence. Moving on then to Rack 1, another good source and possibly better than Mundo Deportivo in the Barcelona media. They say right now the important players in the Barcelona dressing room have asked for the continuity of Ernesto Valverde. Apparently, the dressing room, the key heavyweights in that dressing room, the senior players, they want Valverde to continue, but they also say, Rack 1, they also say board members at Barcelona do not have faith in Valverde. They say today there is the meeting, they also follow that script, they all say things will be decided today and implemented after the Copa del Rey final. Sport have then come out with a report all of their own, a lot of different sources, like I say, getting involved this morning. They say basically Valverde himself wants to continue at the club. He confirmed yesterday after the game that he hadn't even thought about resigning and that he does intend on staying with Barcelona. Sport also go along with what Rack 1 is saying. They say the players are behind Valverde, and they say for that reason it's unlikely that Bartomeu is going to step in and sack him if the players continue to back him after that Copa del Rey final. And what I actually allude to here is all about the players, because I spoke before about the players covering themselves. I said a lot of people at Barcelona right now, a lot of those senior players, they're far, far too comfortable under Valverde. They're playing week in, week out. They're not challenged, not by Valverde, not in terms of his management, not in terms of his personality. They're not really questioned about mistakes. Whatever they do, whatever performances they put in, a lot of those players know they're still going to be in the team next week regardless. And that was really highlighted for me yesterday when Jordi Alba, after the game, he came out, he said, look, we are behind Valverde. He said, we are delighted with him. I hope that he continues with us. He's given me life since he arrived. And all that is there is Jordi Alba saying, I'm happy. I'm happy, so for that reason, everybody else's opinion, everybody else to do with this club, not really important. As long as I'm happy, as long as I'm out there on the pitch, for me, the coach has to stay. And a lot of people there will say, look, he's just being professional, he's not going to be talking out against the current coach, he's just doing his job. Absolutely not. Simply because Jordi Alba was a player who, when Luis Enrique was in charge, towards the end of Luis Enrique's tenure, he actually dropped Jordi Alba due to bad performances. He dropped him out of the team and he changed to a back three. Alba wasn't seen anywhere near that team. And then Jordi Alba came out and he was publicly criticising Luis Enrique. Very unhappy with him, didn't like his management, didn't want him to continue, and then he was more than happy to speak out about him. But now, even though we had the same failures under Ernesto Valverde, we haven't won the Champions League, we're not doing well in terms of the club as a whole, Alba though is more than happy. Just because he's in the team, just because these senior players are comfortable right now, they are happy with Valverde and they will continue to support him, which overall is damaging our club. But if we move on now to some possible acquisitions this summer, which I think is really important when you look at those players, when you look at the core of our team, like I say, it is aging, and a lot of those players do need pushing. We need to bring players in this summer who are going to challenge the ones that we've had, and that's why I think it's really important that we do have a new coach, because if we're going to bring new players in, we need to be able to actually play them. We need to be able to put them in the team and have no fear about doing that. I don't really trust in Valverde to bring new players in, to have new players in his squad and actually implement them in the starting lineup. We've seen it this season with Malcolm. He's come in, he's hardly played, somebody who the board signed, somebody who the board spent a lot of money on, but still nowhere near the team. And that's why I think it's absolutely imperative that we do have that fresh start. Now, a report here from Spain in the Spanish media from Cuatro, who are following up here on our pursuit of Antoine Griezmann. It does say here that Griezmann has an agreement right here and now with Barcelona. It's done. They're not just talking. They're not just going over things. Right now, Cuatro have come out, and other sources as well, they've said Griezmann to Barca, in terms of the personal terms, it is a done deal. And actually right now, Cuatro go on to say that it's actually Atlético Madrid. Atlético Madrid right now is saying, look, we want you to come out and announce this. You want to make it public, go ahead and do that, because once that happens, once we can get this transfer over the line, once we get a huge transfer fee, of course, for Antoine Griezmann, Atlético Madrid then can go on with their summer plans. That's what they want right now. Atlético Madrid have accepted that Griezmann will go. They've accepted the decision. And right now, I would say, looking at these sources, looking at the reports that are coming out, Griezmann could well be on his way to Barcelona. The agreement seems very close. We seem to have much more of a development than we did last season. Last season, of course, Griezmann very intent on staying. He wanted to see how things go, but obviously this season he has been frustrated by the progress of Atlético Madrid. And now, when we're desperate, we need a striker. We need somebody proven to come in right here and now, challenge Suarez, hopefully come into that team and make a real impact. And Griezmann certainly does look like our man. But I want to talk here about Alexander Lacazette, just to cover all of the bases, because Mundo Deportivo came out this morning saying that basically Lacazette is also on our radar when we're looking at strikers this summer. He is on our wanted list. He is pretty high up that list as well. And apparently, according to MD, Griezmann remains our top priority. Griezmann is the man that we want to bring in above all else. But if once again this summer it does end up failing as it did last year, that can happen, we've got a plan for all eventualities, then apparently we are going to turn our focus to his compatriot Alexander Lacazette, playing his football, of course, right now at Arsenal in the Premier League, and has done extraordinarily well this season in the Premier League and the Europa League. Arsenal have reached the final, and it all sort of started these rumours when Telefoot actually went to Lacazette and they said to him, you've been linked with Barcelona, what do you think of those kind of reports? And Lacazette actually turned around and he said, I'm really, really flattered to be linked with Barcelona. So clearly there, Lacazette would be open to a move. He is somebody who I think, you look at his profile, you look at his style of play, he does suit Barcelona very, very nicely in terms of he's a pure finisher. He's somebody who can be very, very good in front of goal. He's got excellent, really, really excellent movement. A pure number 9 there who's certainly capable of making the right runs and really, really good and aware of what's around him. I think Lacazette, a very, very good player, a good option, and I can understand why that he's second place there. If we don't get Griezmann, Lacazette is a possibility. And I'll just finish here with the latest on Philippe Coutinho, and also in doing that we have to talk about Eden Hazard. The simple reason for that is L'Equipe have come out this morning and they said, look, Hazard to Real Madrid, it's a done deal. It's been done apparently for a number of weeks now. All they're waiting for is the end of Chelsea's season to actually come out and announce it. He's only got 1 year left on his current contract. Chelsea are very, very keen to get a fee, and apparently he is going to be going to Real Madrid, and it will be announced after the Europa League final. All of this is important to us simply because about Coutinho. Coutinho could go to Chelsea now. If they do sell Eden Hazard, it'll mean they're pocketing here around 100+ million for the transfer of Hazard, and also they'll desperately need a replacement, not in terms of their team, not only in terms of that, but also a marquee signing to really get the fans back on side and look at the direction really that Chelsea want to go. And the only problem with this particular deal is one that I mentioned in the past. It's all about that transfer ban, because we right now are happy to let Coutinho go. We do believe that it will be the right decision if we let him go to get back as much of that fee as we possibly can. Coutinho right now is also open to it. He's not happy with the criticism, he's not happy with the fans, he's not happy really with how things have turned out at Barcelona, and he would be open to a return to the Premier League. But obviously right now Chelsea do have a transfer ban. They're going to appeal that, and the decision on that appeal will be very, very important to us. If Chelsea do get that ban overturned, at least for this summer and this summer only, they could then go and sign Coutinho and give us in doing that some massive, massive transfer fee. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with that ban can, and also if Coutinho is going to be leaving this summer, whether a new manager could persuade him to stay, whether a new manager could find a different role for him, we are going to have to wait and see. All of these questions, all of these rumours, they are going to be answered in the next few weeks. Valverde, after the Copa del Rey final, something, I believe deep down, something might happen. Maybe, just maybe, there may be some progress. We are going to have to wait and see. Stick tight to your phones. Stick tight to your screens. Never stop believing, guys. We've got to try and be positive. We have to try and work our way through this. We have to try and see some light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I'll be back very soon indeed with more videos. But until then, as always, Visca el Barça.